All right, everyone, welcome back to
Unknown,
Unsolved
unseen.
Triple U.
Woohoo!
I love that we've added that now to like the end of the Triple U is you just say woohoo.
Yeah. We got where are we at? Episode 26 here?
24.
Oh yeah, you're 24, yeah. Sorry, I was writing my episode 25 and I read that and I'm like, oh, so that means next one we record. But no, I just wrote my script early. You're
Nope,
right, this is 24.
that's crazy. Okay.
What's also crazy is I think we statistically beat where most podcasts end, which is episode 23.
Heck yeah.
So we are statistically better.
Woo! I like being statistically better than others.
So do you have any announcements today?
I do not have any announcements today. I don't think
Well,
so.
I have a quick one.
Okay.
So you guys may have noticed on my last two episodes, I did a little intro at the beginning. I wanted you guys, to, if possible, give your feedback on whether or not you guys like that or not, and maybe we might do that for our episodes going forward if you guys end up liking that. So let us know. And then on top of it, we also are going to be testing something else new. We're going to call it, should we agree upon Fast Files?
Yep.
We're going to call it the Fast Files, which will be every other Friday, shorter, smaller episodes, where we'll cover a variety of topics that you normally wouldn't see on a full-length episode, like the Dairy Fairy, the Mystery Coke Machine, the Bloop. Those are some of the topics we'll be covering, and that will be an every other Friday thing. If you guys want to let us know at all, either on Instagram or on Spotify or anywhere else, you can leave comments what your thoughts are on that. Any feedback is greatly appreciated, but we're thinking probably around the end of March we might start releasing those. We're going to just figure out what we need to figure out when first, and then we'll probably write a few before we release them, but they are going to be between 15 to 30 minutes long versus our current 50 minutes to hour 40 we have right now. So significantly shorter.
Yeah.
And so I think that's all I had besides, the typical events I say that are happening. Besides that, Sage, you ready to tell me about whatever topic you have today? You mind tell me what said topic is going to be?
Sure. So today we're gonna make our way just a little bit to the west of us.
Oh,
Uh,
where's that?
and we're going to dive into the haunted history at the Ohio State
Oh
Reformatory.
God, we're going to Ohio.
Yes, and we are going to Ohio.
My goodness, I am heartbroken now.
Well, whoops.
Now, we're talking about reformatory, right?
Yeah.
Do we have any trigger warnings for this?
There's brief mentions of suicide, some pretty horrific torture methods,
Oh, so,
um, and death of a 14-year-old boy.
okay. So, a few trigger warnings then.
Yep. So just take care of yourself. As always, it's a haunted history. So I am going to be talking about ghosts. I'm going to do my best to stay respectful of ones that are said to be specific people that we have record of. But we always just want you guys to take care of yourselves. So
Okay, then I think we are ready to get into this, are we?
all right, we are. Penn State.
Yay.
Sorry.
I agree. We are Penn State because today we're going to the godless land of Ohio, where they have the Ohio State because they got trademarked the word the.
Yeah, so this is the Ohio State Reformatory.
Okay,
I
okay.
don't think that the is copyrighted in this case, trademarked.
I think that's only for the Ohio State.
Yeah, it actually goes by OSR a lot. So, like the initials of it, rather than like the Ohio State Reformatory.
Okay, so
So,
are you going for I
no.
refer to it? I said reform to it almost like reformatory.
No, I do believe that through most of this, I will just call it the Ohio State Reformatory.
Okay.
The Ohio State Reformatory is a historic prison that's located in Mansfield, Ohio, and is built on the field that was once used as a training camp for Civil War soldiers. That camp was named Camp Mordecai Bartley.
Mordecai Bartley. I
Yeah,
think it
no,
should be Mordecai and Rigby from regular show.
sure. In honor of the Mansfield man who served as the Ohio governor in the 1840s, before the Civil War.
Yeah, was Ohio a Union or Confederate state?
I honestly could not tell you the answer to that. In 1867, Mansfield was promoted as the candidate for the placement of the new Intermediate Penitentiary. That was the original name before it was changed to the Ohio State Reformatory. And it would later be called the Mansfield Reformatory.
So what was the last name it had?
Mansfield Reformatory.
So that's technically what it.
No, because there is a second prison built on the same grounds. That's the actual Mansfield Reformatory, but they refer to the grounds itself as Mansfield.
Confusing.
A little bit confusing. I'll explain more as we go through. The city raised $10,000 to purchase 30 acres of land for the prison.
What
and
year?
This was in 1867.
Damn, that's a lot of money back then.
Yeah, and the state acquired 150 acres of adjoining land for $20,000. And then the cost of the facility was $1,326,700 altogether. So we've got about $30,000 for the land and a little over $1.3 million for the actual facility to be built.
Jeez, that is a lot of money.
Yeah. This intermediate penitentiary was intended to be just that, a halfway point between the Boys Industrial School in Lancaster, Ohio. And do not come for me and say that it's Lancaster. Okay, we're from Pennsylvania, and we pronounce Lancaster as Lancaster. No Lancaster or Lancaster or whatever.
Maybe it's Lancaster there, but Lancaster. No, Lancaster there and Lancaster here.
Yeah, well, I'm pronouncing it as Lancaster because that makes the most sense. But anyway. So it was a halfway point between the Boys Industrial School in Lancaster, Ohio, and then the state penitentiary in Columbus, Ohio. And the intermediate was intended to house young first-time offenders or those who were too old for juvenile corrections, but whose crimes were not severe enough for the Ohio State Penitentiary.
Okay. So not the most severe, but not the most not severe.
Yeah.
So like we're talking like middle ground prisoners.
Yeah. The original architect for the design was Levi T. Schofield from Cleveland, Ohio, who used 3 architectural styles: Victorian Gothic, Richardsonian Romanesque, and Queen Anne.
Can I give a little spoiler here?
Sure.
You showed me the picture of it, and now that makes sense on why it looks that way.
Yeah. So the exterior of the building, which is built from brick and concrete, is designed in the Romanesque style, giving the front of the building a castle-like appearance. Schofield designed the reformatory with these unique styles to help encourage inmates to become reborn back into their spiritual lives and leave the lives of their crimes behind. The whole point was that it was very much like church looking. Churchy, like old-timey churchy castle looking kind of thing.
See, we've been to 2 different closed down prisons now, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've been to Moundsville, which is West Virginia State Penitentiary, and Eastern State Penitentiary. From what you showed me on the picture and what you're describing, very different build style than the ones we went to. Now, granted, the Moundsville was supposed to be maximum security.
Yeah, no,
but it was not a. I think it was supposed to be maximum security. It was not a good maximum security. It was
no.
The amount of people who died there is absurd.
Mm-hmm.
But so, and this one's not maximum. And what's it called Eastern State, was that max security? Because it did seem it was fairly.
It's very contained, but I think that it was more rehabilitation, and then later became.
And this is what's trying to, and the Ohio State one is trying to be rehabilitation too, right?
Yeah,
Moundsville, 100% not rehabilitation. Torture is what that place was.
Well, this had its fair share of torture too. So inmates here were offered religious instruction, education, and vocational training, and practical trades such as engineering and plumbing. And they would invest into these skills because these skills were meant to turn their lives around. So they're teaching them things to send them back into society with an actual skill to be able to use to make money, stay out of crime. This system worked remarkably well in the initial years of the prison being open.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and compared to other reformatory facilities in the United States specifically, convicts who finished serving their sentences at the Ohio State Reformatory or Mansfield were considerably less likely to become repeat offenders.
Offenders.
Yeah, offenders. The initial sentences were set at 18 months, and those who showed progress were released after the 18 months, and those who did not were given another 18 months. So Ohio State Reformatory boasted one of the lowest resentencing rates in the country as the former cons took advantage of their second chances in life and the new skills that they were learning while they were incarcerated here.
And what years was this that was successful?
So the construction on the prison began in 86, um, like in 86, 87, and then it was done, I think, around 1910, but prisoners started moving um, in in 1896. So it's like the end of the 1800s, early 1900s is when this was working the best.
Well, at least at some point it worked well.
Yeah. So again, construction began in 1886, and on September 15th, 1896, the Ohio State Reformatory admitted its first 150 inmates, who were then immediately put to work on the prison's infrastructure, including the sewer system and the 25-foot stone walls surrounding the complex. Construction continued until about 1910, and then, like, there was some issue with funding, and I think it got pushed back a little bit. Because I saw 1910 or I saw 1919, not really sure. Um, while the prison was originally designed for rehabilitation, this was unfortunately not going to last very long.
Oh no.
Um, and as most rehabilitative prisons, it would eventually have its funding cut. And it also encountered an influx of prisoners due to a higher increase just in people committing crimes at the time. And so it was forced to transition into a higher security prison that could hold those that had more serious and violent crimes. And as more violent and hardened criminals entered the space, more violent and serious incidents occurred at the reformatory. So now we've got people who um, are lesser crimes and younger, because remember, this is like for younger adults who were too old for juvenile, but not serious enough for Ohio State Penitentiary. And now we've got people who should be at the Ohio State Penitentiary, but because of overcrowding, need to be at this reformatory.
So you're commingling two groups that probably shouldn't be commingled.
Yep. As with other prisons, as demand for prison space increased, what was originally meant for one prisoner was now transformed to cells that would be holding a minimum of 3 prisoners in the small space.
So, like, how big were these cells?
That I don't know the dimensions of, but I would assume that when you think of traditional cell, probably 5 feet by 10 feet, maybe.
Okay. Because that's what I'm always curious about. You look at cells for the prisons we've gone to, Eastern State and Moundsville. An Eastern State penitentiary cell is about 3 to 4 times as large as a Moundsville cell. And a Moundsville cell would hold 3 people in it.
Yeah. I think, like, when I was looking at photos and stuff, they look closer in size to the Moundsville, but they were only meant to hold 1. And then they had to increase it because of overpopulation.
Increase size or just increase how many people to
how many
cram
people
in?
were in it.
Okay, that's what I was just making sure. Yeah, so it sounds similar to Moundsville, which
Yeah.
is sad, and you really deprave people of just basic human needs when you do that.
Yeah. Cells on death row began housing 2 prisoners per cell, which did result in at least 1 death. And the story behind this is that during morning checks, guards noticed that a prisoner was missing from one of the cells. Upon inspection, the prisoner's body was found severely broken and stuffed beneath the bunk.
Wow, that's disturbing.
Yeah, just a little tidbit I figured I'd throw in there. Um, Over the years, several officers have been murdered in the line of duty here, including Frank Hanger, who was beaten to death by prisoners during a 1932 escape attempt. And over the history of the prison, approximately at least 200 people would perish during their time of incarceration from disease, murder, or suicide. That was not all the people that died here, though.
So 200 though,
Yeah,
at least.
died specifically from disease, murder, or suicide within the prison walls. But
Okay.
that's not the only deaths that occurred here.
What would the other deaths be categorized as?
I'll explain.
I'm curious, so explain.
You can't wait for me to get to it?
How long till we get to it?
Not that far.
Okay, I'll wait for it. I'm
Okay.
very curious now.
So not only were the incidents violent and serious between prisoners and the prisoners that were there, but so were the punishments. Again, this prison's now in a period of transitioning from rehabilitation to punishment. And so we no longer have these, like, let's teach them skills and trades. Let's instead punish them in pretty horrific ways. So, although they're, like, pretty similar to what we talked about in Eastern State when that started transitioning into um, punishment as well, and what we know from uh, West Virginia State Penitentiary. The harshest acts of violence were often associated with an area known as the Hole.
I feel like every prison has the
Yeah.
hole.
Yep, exactly. So solitary confinement. This was a tiny cell in which inmates that were deemed in need of more severe punishment were placed for 3 days or more and had made to sleep on the concrete floors. It had no natural light and was known for pushing people to the brink of insanity. It was also disgustingly infected with roaches and other bugs that would crawl across the floors and up the walls and across the prisoners. Uh, they were starved with only small portions of bread and water served infrequently, sometimes only every 3 days. Stories of prisoners attempting and, in a lot of cases, succeeding in hanging themselves come from these cells. One allegedly even set himself on fire, which
In the cell?
I'll talk about later.
I'm so confused on how you do that.
Yeah, if I recall, this is the one particular dude who found a can of turpentine. But I talk about that in a little bit because when I get to the hauntings.
Okay, yeah, I do want to hear the haunting.
On one occasion, a guard sent 2 prisoners to the hole with only one of them emerging. And after all is said and done, over 100 prisoners were sent to the hole, most of which never came out alive. They would be part of the 200 that would die by either suicide, murder, or disease. Another punishment was the sweat box, which was an area near the boilers in the basement and was typically reserved for non-white prisoners. Inmates were put in a metal box near the boiler where the temperatures would often exceed 120 degrees. Some were there for a day, some were there for extended periods of time. Others never made it out alive because they burned alive inside of the box.
Jeez, what the? So this is some of those other deaths.
Yeah. Another room known as the chair room, it's an unassuming and strange location within the Ohio State Reformatory.
Wait, the chair room.
Yep, it's called the chair room. It is literally a windowless room that has a random chair facing the door. I did read about this more later. That comes back up in the hauntings, so I will bring up more information about that when I get to the
I
hauntings.
feel like that's such an unoriginal name. The chair room.
Yeah.
Hey, you've been pretty bad. You're heading to the chair room.
Yeah. There was also a punishment called water tubes or water hoses. I don't really know what this involved, but I did read somewhere that it may have involved dunking inmates in huge vats of water and then hanging them by their wrists in their cells. I could not find an exact
Oh.
definition, but I do think that happened. Didn't that happen at West Virginia State Penitentiary?
No, I don't think so.
I definitely read that.
I
about
thought
another
water
prison.
tubes is them going to be like filling tubes with water like hoses and then beating people with them because I think that is a form of punishment and
Well,
torture.
it could be that too. So, either way.
I don't know. There's a lot of creative
I looked
ways.
it up and I could not find what it was.
A lot of creative ways to torture somebody with water, which is insane. Water, it gives life, but can be such a fascinating way to torture somebody.
Yeah. Another was called the butterfly, which was an electro-torture device used on the prisoners. Again, I could not find much information on why it was called this or what it consisted of. Even when I directly looked it up, there was like no information, but it was in a bunch of different sources.
What was it called again?
The butterfly, but it's like an electric shock. There, torture.
Yeah, I can't figure out what it would be then.
Yeah. Along with the likelihood of being tortured, the convicts were also endangered by the to the extreme by other convicts, horrendous food, rat plague, and many transmittable diseases. You could get special treatment, but that was only to those who could find the money to pay for it. And so, for the majority of people that were in this prison, life at the prison was not only a life of hoping to avoid punishment, but also a life of hoping to avoid other inmates, especially those there for more violent crimes. Eventually, due to the horrendous conditions, the punishments, and the overcrowding, the prison was forced to close its doors in 1990.
1990.
Yeah. In
Okay.
1978, the Council for Human Dignity, which was a coalition of church and civics groups, filed a lawsuit on behalf of the 2,200 prisoners claiming that conditions in the prison were both brutal and inhumane and overcrowded. This resulted in a prisoners' class action lawsuit titled Boyd versus Denton, and District Judge Frank J. Battisti of the United States District Court for the Northern District of Ohio ordered the prison to be closed by the end of December 1986. This order was known as the Boyd Consent Decree. The closing date was moved to 1990 due to delays in constructing the replacement facility, so the Mansfield Correctional Institution, which just stands to the west of the old prison, where the yard, the power plant, and a couple other buildings once stood. So that's what I was saying, where there is a Mansfield prison, Mansfield Correctional Institution that's still on the grounds. And then Ohio State Reformatory, a lot of it is still standing.
Okay, that's interesting. And I know I keep comparing it, but I checked it too. Moundsville didn't close until 1995.
Yeah, so just a couple years
So
after.
that's in living history that some of these deplorable prisons from the freaking Civil War era finally closed down.
Yeah.
Holy moly. They really ran their course and got their money's worth out of these places.
Definitely. So the Ohio State Reformatory was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1983, which affords it the many protections that they get from being on the National Register, and that prevents it from being completely demolished and completely replaced. So that's why we still have some of it standing today. So most of the grounds and the support buildings, including that outer wall, have been demolished since its closing. But in 1995, the Mansfield Reformatory Preservation Society was formed. They've turned this prison now into a museum, and they conduct tours to help fund ground rehabilitation projects and currently work to stabilize the buildings against further deterioration. Restorations to date include removal of debris, replacement of roofing, complete restoration of the warden's quarters, as well as the complete restoration of the central guard room between the east and west cell blocks. The windows of the south side east cell block have also been replaced, and all of the original stained glass windows that were in the building are now planned to be replaced. Just a little fun fact, the east cell block remains the largest free standing steel cell block in the world at 6 tiers high. This is a Guinness Book of World Records record.
Nice.
It is interesting. But anyway, so that is little bit of history for where we are at
So
today.
where I should ask this earlier. Where is Mansfield, Ohio? In Ohio, central, south central, east, west, north, northwest, northeast.
I honestly couldn't tell you. I think that it is I don't even know. I would have to look.
I'm looking at
It's
him.
65 miles from Cleveland and Columbus. So it's kind of in between Cleveland and Columbus, it looks like, in northeast.
Yeah. Oh, actually, no. It looks like north central, but maybe a little bit northeast. But I see where it is. It's right between Cleveland and Columbus, as you said.
And now, what you've all waited so patiently for, because y'all know I like to give a little bit of the history because I find it so fascinating.
We're getting the cryptids, right?
Nope, now we're getting to hauntings. Ooh,
Second best, third best thing, in my opinion. Cryptids, aliens, hauntings.
I like hauntings. Hauntings and true crime are my jam.
Beats Bears Battlestar Galactica, I think.
Yeah.
That
Quite true.
Yep.
Alright, yeah, so what you're really here for, the hauntings. This is probably going to be where a lot of those trigger warnings I mentioned at the beginning are going to come up.
I feel like we already covered the torture trigger warning.
Yeah, that one. So the basement of the prison is home to two opposing entities. One of these is said to be a 14-year-old boy who was beaten to death in the basement back when the Ohio State Reformatory was still a reform facility for minors. So that's before it transitioned into like more of a penitentiary. His apparition is seen as a shadow that flickers quickly across the walls
Hold
and
up, hold
ceiling.
up. His what?
Apparition.
It's an apparition.
No, I didn't.
I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. I want to know how you pronounce the word.
Apparition.
Okay, that's what I would have said, but it sounded like you said something else.
His apparition is seen as a shadow that flickers quickly across the walls and ceiling, staying just out of view or out of the corner of your eye as if he's escaping the room. Overall, his energy tends to be light, harmless in nature, but the other entity, that is not the case. So the other entity is thought to be very heavy and dark and described often as like sinister.
Me.
And may have been the murderer of the boy. Obviously, that's not known specifically, but that's what people believe. This malevolent presence is said to exert a powerful, oppressive energy and was likely a guard that worked in the prison. It is reported that you can feel something unnerving and unsettling around, like around you when the guard's in your presence. And so that's how you know if you're being visited by the sinister guard or if you're going to be visited by the younger boy.
So they both in the same area of the basement or opposite sides of the basement?
Same, like it's in the basement.
Okay, it's
That's
just the
like
entire basement.
one area, yeah, like one. The basement itself is like one location.
Okay. So are they
Again, this is
ever?
built more like a castle. Like this isn't like a prison where there's like base. This is more like a house kind of thing, where like the basement is an actual basement. It doesn't look like a prison where, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So in the basement, are they ever seen together, or is it only one or the other?
I actually don't know the answer to that question. I would assume one or the other because it seems more like the boy is trying to run away.
Okay.
So. The whole, being as disgusting and sanity stealing as it was, is no exception to the potential hauntings and ghostly sightings. Visitors to the reformatory that entered the hole report feeling cold spots, nausea, and breathing down the back of their necks. They also report feeling fever like shudders and an uncomfortable sensation of being watched while in the space. There's also reported to be the presence of a spirit of an inmate who died in the hole, who is now reliving his final tormented hours, and may be the source of the deranged babbling, disembodied moans, and other unpleasant sounds that are reported as originating in the hole.
Disembodied moans is creepy, but disembodied babbling I would find creepier.
Oh, me too.
Just hearing random words like I don't even know what babbling would be.
Yeah, I don't know either.
That I just feel like that would be crazy because like moans anyone could do, but like the babbling is like a mind that is no longer well or sane,
Yeah.
lingering on. So I don't know what an insane ghost would do versus a dreadful or malicious ghost because I feel like a insane one would have less control.
Yeah. On ghostwalks.com, which is just a place where people can like tell um their experiences at different haunted locations. Someone named Michelle reported, quote, I worked in Mansfield last year. I don't know what years this was presented. And was assigned to the hole because remember this place is still open. So like they have people working there. Me and another girl in the empty space were on opposite ends. We heard shuffling around in the hallway, thinking it was the visitors who didn't know we were there. I looked over to the other girl and smiled as if to say, let's scare them. She smiled back, and so we jumped out and screamed, but the hallway was empty and the shuffling was gone. So what they're saying is they thought there was visitors that they were going to be able to jump scare. Essentially, no one was in the hallway where they were hearing people walk in the hallway.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then remember that really creepy chair room?
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier? Well, there again, literally just a single chair sitting in the middle of this room.
Do we still have a chair in there?
I think so, yeah.
They keep it authentic.
Yeah. Because you can sit in the chair.
Keep it real there.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if I'd be comfortable sitting in the chair.
Yeah, you shouldn't. Someone else did it and it's not great. So this chair is facing the door of the room. And it's haunted as well. So reports tell of a very nefarious entity in this room, and possibly one of the most like scariest of the entire prison, but also probably the strongest entity as well. Legend has it that a very dark entity lives in this room and prefers for the chair to be in the middle of the room. So if you move the chair, expect for it to move back to the center of the room very soon after. I don't ever recommend doing this part, but it is written that some visitors provoked the spirit in the room by just sitting in the chair and yelling at it, inciting it to take action. Those who provoke the dark entity often leave then with scratches all down their back and other physical manifestations of its presence, like being pushed, things like that. Others have reported feeling uncomfortable in the room and feeling as if someone was staring at them intimidatingly and pushing them to move along the tour rather than staying inside of the room. A
If we
little,
were there, what would you do if I sat in the chair?
I would walk away. That's for you to, that's between you and that entity at that point.
I find the moving the chair thing interesting because I feel like I would love if we could somehow one day do an investigation there and test that.
Well, you can because they do have tours. You can do investigations here. I did outline those later. According to reports, this next location, which is the chapel, is one of the most active areas in the Mansfield prison in terms of paranormal activity, and it's often thought to be a central point for hauntings that are reported. I also saw it referred to as the sanctuary, but I am just gonna call it a chapel because, like, I saw that more. Um, Inherently, I would think that a religious space may not be haunted, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I would
I think
think
there's
that
plenty of haunted religious spaces.
but I just think that inherently though, like in and of itself, once it's built, it's not like haunted usually. It's if it moves in later.
Yeah, it would
Um,
move in unless you build it on a place you shouldn't be building.
yeah, that would be the case for this one because the area that the chapel is located was actually the location of the prisoner execution that occurred on
Oh,
the Mansfield campus. So visitors have reported seeing spirits dangling or lingering around the entranceways, but rapidly vanishing once their presence has been noticed.
so like by dangling, do you mean like hanging almost?
Yeah, that's what I gathered.
Oh my, that's creepy.
Yeah. Others have stated that they've captured countless orbs or other strange light anomalies in snapshots.
Man, that means we might have an Obake or maybe a Revenant. Better not be a Revenant. Those things scary.
And that they've noted bizarre, unidentifiable, and unexplainable noises when inside the chapel as well. Some visitors have even reported being grabbed by the spirits, but this is not a very common occurrence. I found a firsthand account from an individual named Stephanie Crumley, where they state, quote, despite the fact that it was daytime and the whole place is absolutely beautiful, I kept feeling as if there was something lingering in the shadows, looking at me, wishing me harm. I felt as if it was time to move on and definitely didn't want to spend too much time assessing the room. Again, I'm a huge fan of religious spaces from an artistic and anthropological perspective, and this unnerving desire to get the fuck out is rare for me. But there I was, desiring to get the hell out as soon as humanly possible. End quote. I just really like the way they wrote that,
That's creepy.
and very creepy.
Not for me. No bueno.
Yeah. The next place is the infirmary, where there's a large number of inmates, likely, passed away, dying of illness, disease, injuries sustained during torture, from beating bites of the guards or other fellow inmates. But there's, where they all died, there's going to be reports of paranormal activity. So there are claims that prisoners who were seeking care in the infirmary would have to go days without medical care, which resulted in a lot more deaths than there probably needed to be. Many were neglected and starved to death because they were too weak to fight off other patients that were stealing their food when there was no supervision from the staff.
That's awful.
I know, that just made me feel really sad.
Yeah.
Um, as for the paranormal activity here, there's a lot of reports of unexplained gusts of wind and disembodied moaning. And this space is recognized in a lot of paranormal groups to set off their EMF readers. So but those were like the only things that I could find about the infirmary.
Yeah, the infirmary. I feel like that's the place in a lot of prisons, and whatnot. Um, would be very, very fucked up.
Yeah. I wish I could find more information on it, but I just couldn't. The library is also said to be haunted, but not by a former inmate. Visiting psychics have suggested that the spirit here is actually a young woman by the name of Helen. Records indicate that this could be the ghost of a former prison nurse who was murdered by inmates many years ago. The cell blocks themselves are said to be really active, even being active during the time the prison was open for business and holding inmates. Complaints were recorded, like complaints by the prisoners, were recorded of invisible hands grasping at the men while they were in their cells at night, along with a lot of unsettling noise that kept them awake.
The invisible hands. No. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Big no for me.
But there was also some nice invisible hands because many inmates would report that there was a lady who would come into their cells at night and tuck their blankets in around them in what they would report as like a soothing way.
Why don't
And
you tuck in my blankets at night?
because you keep them tucked in anyway.
I try to, but then you roll over and untuck them for me. I think you have a moral obligation to tuck them back in for me.
Well, I am not the nurse that's from the library, because that's who many believe was doing that.
Okay, well maybe you should be like her.
No.
Rude.
This is another area where a lot of people died, not by disease, murder, or suicide. But in 1930, a large fire broke out, killing 330 people and injuring 200 others. Those who survived the fire were confined to an attic space covered in painful hot burns that were prone to infection based on the conditions. The spirits of those who perished in the fire and those who endured the aftermath are said to haunt the prison. I did not find much related to specific experiences with these individuals, but I can only imagine that there's got to be sounds, moaning, pain, screaming, burn smells, things like that probably left over residually. And again, like this place is built more like a home, like a castle. This is not built like a prison where there's like they have cell blocks, but they're not like Eastern State Penitentiary where it's these like spokes or these long lines and stuff. Like that's why there was a basement and an attic space
Or
here.
like, yeah.
More
So
like a
like
home.
any other prison where it's just cells upon cells upon cells.
Yeah. There is rarely a tour that passes without reports of shadow people, disembodied voices, phantom footsteps, and other strange sounds like cell doors clanging shut, especially like around, obviously, at the cell blocks. Um, Guests have testified to seeing items change places in the cemetery on site, and that a lot of paranormal gear fails in that area as well. Which we've
Interesting.
seen, like I've seen that with my own two eyes, like investigating the triangle at Gettysburg, and like gear will fail there all the time, and then you
Okay.
step out of the triangle and it comes back to life. It's very creepy.
Interesting.
Um, the administration wing of the prison is also considered a hotspot for paranormal activity, despite having been recently renovated and, well, recently restored. This may be haunted by two very important figures in the history of the reformatory. So, Arthur Glatt was the superintendent in 1935, and he got to work straight away on improving the miserable conditions in the prison as best that he could. Although there was not a lot that he could do about the overcrowding, he tried to do what he could to make it less horrific for the prisoners that were living there. Obviously, that didn't last very long, uh, you know, because the prison got shut down in 1980s.
Wait, what year was he?
This was 1935.
1935.
Mhm.
35 to 80. Quite a while.
Yeah, but he was trying to make it better starting in 35.
Yeah, but that still leaves you 45 years.
Yeah, was it good for all 45 years or was it very shortly during his term
Oh, okay,
better
okay,
and
okay.
then got
I
so
thought
bad that they had to sue?
I thought you meant that um his efforts meant nothing because it was getting closed down soon, and I'm like, 45
Oh,
years
no, no,
is not
no.
soon.
No.
Okay, I interpreted what you said a lot
Sorry,
differently.
my bad. So he lived in the administration wing with his wife Helen, and in 1915, not 1915, in 1950, Helen was looking for something in a closet when she accidentally knocked a gun off of the shelf, and it fell, and upon hitting the ground, it went off and shot her in the chest. Unfortunately, she would battle against the injury for 3 days, but did succumb to pneumonia that she developed while she was trying to recover from this lethal wound.
That's awful.
Yeah. Arthur continued to be the superintendent of the prison in an effort to block out the immense heartache that he felt at the passing of his wife. But he would also unfortunately pass away in the prison when he had a massive heart attack while working in his office. The couple is said to both be haunting the administration wing, but are likely the friendliest of the spirits at the reformatory. So, aside from our sweet nurse who tucked inmates in, Helen had her own restroom in the wing, and it was decorated in all pink, which I just love that. So they call it the pink room, like the pink bathroom. Visitors have gotten a whiff of a rose fragrance emanating from the room, but it's unknown whether that was her perfume or if she often had roses in the restroom, but there is a smell of roses. Others have testified to feeling an icy air passing over them as they walk through the wing. And with so many photos taken at the prison, it's not unusual to hear cameras jam or shutter and mysteriously start working once the camera person leaves the wing, but this seems to be an area that has the most camera malfunctions. Also, it's known that old buildings have trouble with heating and cooling, but in the summer here, heat quickly fills this apartment, though strangely, visitors still feel cold spots and breezes on the most sweltering of days. And so they say that a lot of people who come here to ghost hunt and tour often spend a lot of time in these rooms because there's cooler air here than other places in on the campus. I just thought was interesting. I I would be ignorant not to include the statements that Theodore Ted Glatt, who was the youngest child of Helen and the warden, and who was raised in the administration department located within the wing, has made about his reaction to the insinuation that his parents' spirits continue to walk the halls of the administration wing in the prison. He believes that the paranormal material about his parents is, quote, founded on shock tactics and mistaken stories. And during a sit down with ghost hunter Rebecca Mueller, he talked about his life and he's quoted as saying, I find it hard to think that a spirit stays in a place rather than with loved ones. Haunting a house is a concept left over from when people died where they were born. I have little respect for the ghost stories, all the inaccurate pieces and sensationalism regarding their lives. I would disagree, though, with some of his statement, because I don't know how this proves to him his parents aren't haunting here, because this is where they lived. This is where he lived. So this idea of it's left over from when people died where they were born. Maybe they weren't born there, but like they did live there. So
Well,
like why
wait,
would
did
their
they die there?
yeah, they both
Yeah, they
died there.
died.
Like why would they not
Oh.
or their that makes sense to me that their bodies would stay there. Like their
I'm
spirits would stay
I'm
there.
always curious on how spirits, the thing works. Like, do you stay where you died? Do you go to where you live? Do you go to where you once were? Like Al Capone, he didn't die Eastern State, but he's still reported there. He died elsewhere.
Yeah.
He's also reported in Alcatraz. Is that where he died?
That I have no idea. I don't know much about Al Capone.
I forget if he died there or not, but he's reported there too, and he's reported in multiple places.
Well, I think about like my I have family that like comes to me in the form of Cardinals and Blue Jays. Not that I've seen their presences elsewhere, but like that would lead me to believe that they can move around. I don't know.
Funky stuff to think about.
Yeah. Because of the horrific conditions and barbaric punishments, it is no surprise. It is no surprise that inmates completed suicide often. And two of the most famously reported suicides occurred in the East Cell Block. The first of which is James Lockhart, who had less violent offenses than his cellmate and his neighbors, and he was reportedly experiencing a lot of bullying and threats from those around him. And so, to escape being killed by his peers, he decided to take the taking of his life into his own hands. He is reported as having stolen a can of turpentine, which I looked up. And this is apparently a flammable, oily liquid that comes from pine trees that's used as a solvent, paint thinner, and in organic synthesis. Because that was something I did not know. And he set himself on fire using the turpentine and himself as fuel.
Interesting. Wait, so this is the guy who burned himself in the hole?
I think so. I don't quite know. I couldn't find more information on whether or not um, that was in the hole or if that was elsewhere.
Okay.
So I can't definitively say that those are the same people. But I didn't hear any other remnants of someone else lighting themselves on fire, so I would assume that it would be the same person. According to one of my sources, and I just want to make it very clear that this is not my words, just because I find them to be a little bit horrific and insensitive. But they say, quote, "The fire was so significant that all that anyone, meaning the other prisoners, could do was watch as all they could do was watch him slowly melt, screaming and writhing in pain as he died."
Yikes.
Yeah. I wanted to put that in there because I feel like that's a very emotionally charged sentence. But I also just wanted people to know that I didn't write that because I think that's very insensitive. But it means something to the story. So the other suicide was Larry Hamer, who was a prisoner that was a week away from transferring to another prison. But he ended up making a noose out of his bed sheets and tossed himself over the railing, hanging himself.
Oh.
Ghosts of these men have been seen in the cell block, either walking around or hanging. But I didn't see much else on them other than explanations of their completions of suicide. Though other visitors report feeling nauseous and dizzy while walking around the East cell blocks. And Stephanie Crumley, who I mentioned earlier, their firsthand account also reports that, quote, "Someone, a shadow, was watching me walking through the cell blocks," which is pretty fucking creepy. Before it appeared, the experience of nausea came on, which is a common occurrence when the air pressure is changing and the energy levels are wacky from another presence entering the space. Which I just thought was interesting. I never really thought about that. So, makes sense though. Tour guides, likewise, attest to hearing odd noises frequently and even spotting shadowy figures. Visitors report similar experiences, hearing movement and mumbling in empty cells or down vacant corridors, while others even claim that they have been pushed over railings or attempted to be pushed over railings. But that sounds a little sketch to me.
Wow, this is sketch.
Yeah. Really weird phenomenon that occurs at the prison, which Frank actually knew what this was when I told him originally, is lovingly nicknamed Elmo the Elemental.
Yeah, I heard about this actually a while ago on Believing the Bizarre podcast.
Yeah, it is it's not the very cute, fluffy red Muppet whose line of "That's a big word for Elmo" I quote all of the time. Uh, no, it is known as an elemental or a buildup of energy appearing in photography, taken by guests and not something that was once human. The energy appears as a glow that is red and shining, much like the Muppet, which is where that nickname comes from. But it has no shape, but it is said to cause intense feelings of fear and anger and is very dangerous.
Oh, I did not remember that part of it. I just remember the name because the name was funny, but wow. So it's Elmo, but dangerous.
Yeah. And so dangerous that when it appears, be ready that an accident is going to happen. So, capturing Elmo, the elemental, on camera is a feat in and of itself, but it has also been picked up on EVPs, which I bet sounds terrifying. Though, can you imagine? You're walking around the prison and you say something like, "Hey, grab the spectrographic cameras and take a picture." And you just hear this disembodied voice going, "Spectrographic? That's a big word for Elmo." Frank helped me write that one because I couldn't think of a big word that had to do with ghost hunting, and he did a good job, and I really like it. So everybody say thanks to Frank for
Yeah,
his
I
part
know.
in my joke.
I know big words and I know ghost hunting equipment.
Yes, that's a big word for
I also
Elmo.
know how to use Google.
That too. Anyway, Guests have been pushed on the stairs, hit on the back when coming down the stairs, but not enough to throw them off balance. Or not enough to throw them down, but enough to throw them off balance. They've also reported getting smacked in the chest. It's said that every photo taken after the act of violence towards a guest shows that, quote, little guilty red glow. If it's bright red, it's thought that Elmo's posing for your picture. If you see a cluster of 3 red orbs, it means that a smell of decay will soon follow instead.
Oh.
A group of tourists was once walking through a room when the rotten smell rolled in. They all turned on each other, asking each other who it was that passed gas, which I think that I'd be doing all the time to Frank.
Yeah, that's right. Leave me okay, Frank. She is so mean to me.
I am. But then one of the guests yelled that she couldn't take pictures and neither could anyone else, meaning that all the cameras in the room shut off at one time. But that nasty rotten egg smell apparently comes after taking a picture and you see the 3 little red dots. So that's Elmo the Elemental.
Elmo is stanky.
Yeah. Or he's posing for you. Those are your 2 options. He's either gonna make it stink real bad, or he's gonna pose nice and pretty for your picture.
After he pushes you or something.
Mhm.
Okay. How many more ghosts we got here?
A little bit more. I also found some direct quote experiences on ghostwalks.com again about the reformatory that I'd figured I would share because they're not related to things I've already talked about, but I figured I'd share them. A visitor named Carrie reported, quote, I just got back from visiting Mansfield and we had an experience in the cell block marked with an X. Taken back to the cell block after a tour, 9 of us and a guide heard something in the hallway. The guide went silent. It sounded like running, and she yelled out, running's not allowed, thinking that it was a guest. But then she saw that no one was missing, and then a distant cell door slammed. And apparently the guide was then also seen sweating and looking very scared after the fact.
The cell door slamming is where it gets creepy there.
Mm-hmm. Another account from someone named Gina, quote, our group was walking down metal stairs from the tower. That's the guard tower. My friend and I are in the back with some high school students in the front. I'm clumsy and held tight to my friend's hand in the railing. Someone slapped my back. I fell forward into my friend and over to the side of the railing. My arm clutched as my muscles pulled to a painful angle. Then down to a knee, I quickly spun to face my attacker, but nobody was there.
Elmo.
Could be Elmo. Could be Elmo. And finally, someone named Randy reports, quote, on my last visit to the Mansfield, my camera and recorder picked up some tapping on the walls of a jail cell. My friend and I thought that it was Morse code. My buddy was military and familiar with the code. He listened closely, though, and it wasn't Morse. We thought it was a code developed by prisoners to communicate without the guards knowing. The tapping noise was caught on our recorder just in that cell, and no other time during our visit.
Interesting.
And then lastly, there was another site that had just a few brief mentions of hauntings, but no additional information. So I figured I'd add them here just for the sake of this being about hauntings. So there are reports of shadow people, echoes of footsteps, voices of people arguing in an empty room, the scent of roses, like I mentioned earlier, cold spots, white or transparent mists, apparitions such as a young man running, the quote, we're not alone sensation, harmless spirits helping people up the stairs, those people being breathed on their skin or tickling on their necks, violent spirits that have punched people, held them back, and even thrown them down the stairs.
Quite a variety here.
Yeah. So that's what I have for the hauntings part. I have a couple other things about this, but do you have anything that you, any thoughts you want to add on the hauntings?
Well, I'm assuming you're going to mention it, but what big names have investigated here?
What big names?
Yeah, have investigated this place.
I think I have that written somewhere.
If you're getting to that later, you can just wait till then.
Honestly, I don't remember if I wrote that down. Oh, well, I wrote some of them down. But I'll go through those. And then if I missed one, then you can tell me what it is. So, the Ohio State Reformatory facility has been used as a location for many film and television productions, but it is best known for its appearance as Shawshank State Prison in the 1994 film The Shawshank Redemption. They held their 30th anniversary celebration from August 9th to 11th in 2024. So just not that long ago, it was 30 years of Shawshank, which I've never seen that movie, but I'll have to figure it out. Um, there's like a bunch of different movies that I didn't know about. Harry and Walter Go to New York, Tango and Cash, Air Force One. Um,
Okay, didn't expect that one.
yeah, the prison was used for scenes of a Russian prison for General Ivan Rudek in that movie. Godsmack, the band, made a music video here in 2000 called Awake. It's been the subject of numerous paranormal investigation shows, including Fox Family Channel's Scariest Stories on Earth and Scariest Places on Earth. The Travel Channel did a tourism documentary on it. Travel Channel's television show Destination Fear filmed at the location for the fourth episode of their third season. The TAP Society investigated the facility in 2005 for ghost hunters. In 2004, Lil Wayne featured this prison in his video for the song Go DJ.
What about Ghost Adventures? Have they been here?
hmm
Okay.
I'm getting to that. So,
I would
that
have
was in.
expected them after Ghost Hunters, but then you went from Ghost Hunters to Lil Wayne.
I'm going in order by
Oh,
year.
okay.
This is by year. In April 2006, the horror thriller motion picture Fallen Angels from 2007 was filmed almost entirely at Ohio State Reformatory. WWE shot a promotional poster featuring Triple H for their 2008 Judgment Day event that was at the facility. In 2009, it was featured on Ghost Adventures in Season 3, Episode 4. 2010, it was used for an episode of the Ghost Hunters Academy. It is the filming place for the music video of the song Relentless Chaos by Miss May I. The Purple Smoke Project, which was a hip-hop group, filmed a video for their song Calm Down in 2011. Attack Attack shot a portion of their video, Smokahontas, in 2011.
Smokahontas.
Yeah.
Wild.
Anti-Flag shot the majority of their video for the new sound in the prison. The National Geographic Channel featured the prison on the show Inside Secret America for the episode Ghosts in 2013. Ghost Asylum on Destination America in 2015. It was featured on the Hambone Show in 2016. I guess that's a investigative place. David Allan Coe and the Moonshine Bandits recorded a music video for Take This Job and Shove It here. In 2017, a new metal act, Moto Grader, filmed a video for the song Dorian. May 11th, 2018, the facility was featured on an episode of BuzzFeed Unsolved.
That's one I didn't know if you'd get, so Shane and Ryan have investigated there.
Yeah. And just a couple more. On December 4th, 2018, the facility was featured on Discovery Channel's show Mysteries of the Abandoned. In the fall of 2018, Escape Plan, The Extractors with Sylvester Stallone was filmed at the facility. It was also used to film in 2019 country music artist Eric Church's Some of It music video. In May 2019, American YouTuber Mr. Beast did a 24-hour challenge video in the prison with the title 24 Hours in the Most Haunted Place on Earth.
Man, why is he calling that the most haunted place on Earth?
I don't know.
Were you too poor to get Waverly Hills, or would they not entertain him?
Maybe they wouldn't.
I think that one's worse.
2019, in November 2019, filming for Judas and the Black Messiah took place at the Reformatory. In February of 2020, Chris Jericho had an episode of his podcast, Talk is Jericho, about the prison and the fact that it was supposedly haunted. In November, December of 2021, YouTuber Sam and Colby, which is Sam Golbeck and Colby Brock, who I love, did a paranormal investigation for their YouTube series, The Attachment here. Definitely go check them out. They did an episode with Morbid, like last year or the year before, and it was awesome. Between May and June of 2022, Shelby Oaks filmed scenes at this location as well. So many a pop culture thing happening here.
Yeah, that one beats any other pop culture I've said.
Yeah, that was a very nice list that was already written out for me.
Oh wow, look at you. Typically I had to distract Ryan. Like next week's I was able to get 3 things. All of them had to come through other means.
Yeah. So before I talk about what you can do there today, do you want to share any thoughts?
I mean, I think there's a good chance of haunting compared to other places. Fits the bill for a lot of other prisons we see and whatnot, because you and I have been to 2 prisons and a sanatorium. Kind of fits the bill for history and what has happened and what the stage is in now. So I think there's a good chance. I'd love to go there and check it out sometime.
I definitely want to go there too.
Yeah, and I believe they do like paranormal conventions because
They do.
Believing the Bizarre did an episode where they had just finished being at that convention, and that's how I learned about Elmo the Elemental. Also, Believing the Bizarre, if you hear us at all, would love to talk with you guys.
Shameless plug. Yeah.
Shameless, no, shameless plea for
Plea for
crossover.
That's true. That's true. So there's a lot of things that you can do at the Ohio State Reformatory today. So there's many events that they hold, including daytime tours, escape rooms, rentals for fundraisers, conferences, or corporate events, and many more. You can also do virtual tours on the website, which I thought was cool. Currently, they host several different events throughout the year. One of the most popular is the Incarceration Music and Tattoo Festival. This is a 3-day rock band show in mid-July. A few of the other events include the Halloween haunted attraction Blood Prison, which runs in September and October every year. The Shawshank Hustle, which is a 7K running
The
race that
Shawshank Hustle.
that goes past
Wow.
it goes past 5 film locations of the Shawshank Redemption. And this is probably what Believing the Bizarre went to, which is the Parapsychon, which is a
Famous.
weekend paranormal and psychic convention that's held in May there. And then they offer 5 different paranormal experiences. So the first is the Paranormal Institute. This is a 4-phase adventure into the paranormal that includes classroom and hands-on training. You'll learn the history of the paranormal, proper investigating techniques that include etiquette, what is and is not paranormal, debunking techniques, the different ghost hunting equipment, and its proper use, plus more. Each phase will have a 1 to 2 hour classroom session, followed by a guided 4-hour investigation of the reformatory. All levels must be completed to receive your Ohio State Reformatory Paranormal membership. It's $115 per phase for those 13 years and older, or you can pay $400 and get all the phases. The first phase, which is phase 1, Introduction to Paranormal History, and phase 2, Ghost Hunting Equipment, are taking place on Saturday, April 26th, or Saturday, June 14th of this coming year. I got this straight off their website, so I'm hoping it's the most up to date.
I'd hope it would be.
Yeah. Phase 3, Audio and EVPs, and Phase 4, Pareidolia, Shadows and Orbs, are Saturday, May 24th, or Saturday, July 26th. The second's Ghost Walk. This is walking through some of the most paranormally active areas of the reformatory during this 2-hour reformatory tour. As you're guided through the areas, you'll hear stories filled with otherworldly experiences. It's $45 per person, 18 and older, or $40 per person for those between 13 and 17, and available on select Friday nights from March to August and late November to early December. The next option is the Mini Ghost Hunt. It says, walk the range of the world's largest freestanding cell block, the East Cell Block. Visit the chapel, the West Attic, East and West Cell Blocks, solitary confinement, and the administration for an in-the-dark, eerie experience. Don't have ghost hunting equipment? That's okay. You can rent equipment during the ticket process or the night of your ghost hunt. This one is the $65 per person and is available on select Friday nights from March to August and late November to early December. The fourth is the Public Ghost Hunt. It says, walk into the paranormal world by experiencing a lights-out public investigation of the reformatory. Bring your senses with the hopes of a paranormal experience and equipment to confirm what you may be experiencing. If you don't have equipment, no worries, you can rent it. This is $104 per person, and this is available on select Saturday nights from March to August and late November to early December. And then lastly, the one that I want to do really badly.
The Private Hunt?
The Private Paranormal Investigation.
Oh, I was close on the name.
Yeah.
Got
It says,
one word right.
jump into exploring the ghostly and historical reformatory with a small group of your friends. By small group, it means 30.
30
yes.
for a private? Holy.
Listen, it says, walk the building or sit quietly in areas open just for you and experience the eerie nightly nature of the building. This is Friday through Saturday. Friday through Saturday is $3,150 for 30 people or less. If it's over 30 people, then it's $105 a person with a maximum of 100 guests.
Okay, and then is it only on the weekends that you can do it?
No. Monday to Thursday is $1,575 for 15 people or less. Any over that is $105 a person with a maximum of 100 guests.
So we just gotta get a big ass group and split the cost.
Yes. So I recommend that everybody goes to mrps.org. This is where you're going to find information on the Ohio State Reformatory. It's got all kinds of things about virtual tours, visiting it, getting tickets, the different events, their story, things like that. So definitely go check that out. And let us know if you find any ghosts. So that's what I have for the Ohio State Reformatory.
All
So
right. I thought that was really good. That was very interesting. I like all the things they do.
yeah, I love that they've been involved in so many things and that they're getting stuff out of this prison despite the fact that it is no longer prison.
I'd love to go check out one of those things sometime.
Yeah, I don't know that I would do blood prison though. In September, October. That sounds way too scary for me.
Nah, that sounds fun.
You can go. I'll sit outside in the car again.
Oh yeah, I forgot you did that last time. I didn't get scared the last time we did a scary thing. I don't know if it's just me as a person, but who knows?
We did a scary thing, and Frank and our friends went in and did the scary things, and I sat in the car and edited one of our episodes. In the dark.
Look, that was her choice. I'm just saying
It
before
was
anyone
my
comes at me.
choice. I was the driver, so it worked out for everybody else because then I could be there and they could just go have fun. But I was still scared and I was in the freaking parking lot.
All right. So is that all for today then, Sage, though?
That is all I've got for today.
Well, time for my spiel at the end. Don't forget, everyone, to go check us out on our social medias, that being Instagram, and then give us a like, follow, comment on our stuff, share our stuff. We like every little bit of it. And then if you're liking the podcast, we highly recommend you give a like, comment, review, subscribe, follow, whatever platform you're on. Do whatever you can. Greatly helps. Every little bit matters. We are getting close to the point where I think Spotify might start recommending our episode to other podcasts, or we might show up in other, you like podcasts like this type stuff once we hit a certain threshold. So we're hoping to get there. Besides that, keep listening, keep sharing, and thanks for coming. I really appreciate all of it.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Yeah,
Thanks for listening.
you got anything else, Sage?
I do not.
All right, you want me to wrap this up then for us?
Yeah.
All right, remember
To look for
the unknown
the unsolved
and the unseen.
All right, everybody. That's
Bye.
the big word for Elmo.
Goodbye.
Bye.